They believed they had you all figured out. From the outside, your journey looked ordinary, maybe even unimpressive to those who judged too quickly. They had no idea they were watching a silent storm gather strength. Now, it's time to break every assumption and show them the blazing force that's been inside you all along. If you're watching this, you've sensed it too. Something in you refuses to stay hidden. This is your turning point. By the end, you'll realize your power was never a myth, and neither are the extraordinary things heading your way. Life rarely rolls out a red carpet for those who walk an uncommon path. In the beginning, you face nothing but closed doors and whispered doubts. At first, these doubts felt personal, like direct hits to your sense of self. Friends wondered if you were chasing fantasies. Family questioned whether you had lost your direction. Even strangers managed to slip their opinions in, as if they somehow knew the blueprint of your destiny better than you did. But beneath the surface, something else was happening. Rumors sprang up. Some claimed you lacked the talent to ever stand out. Others insisted you were too ordinary to make a difference. Whenever you tried to speak your truth, skeptics shut you down with a condescending smile. They convinced themselves that you were destined to remain invisible, simply because they couldn't see the embers burning within. The world's skepticism, as heavy as it was, ironically became the reason you kept going. Nobody expected much from you, so you had the freedom to forge ahead without the weight of outside pressure. You took their doubts and used them like stepping stones. Each harsh comment or dismissive glance reminded you that you were on an untrodden path, a place where real transformation often takes root. At the time, you had no idea these doubts would grow so loud. From minor remarks in passing, they ballooned into tangible controversies. People implied you were unstable, that your dreams made no sense, and that you'd eventually give up. Yet you pressed on, aware that the only limits in this world are the ones we allow others to place upon us. What your critics missed, what they could never comprehend, was the spark hidden in your every move. While they saw you as less than, you were actually gathering the pieces of a puzzle that would reshape your destiny. Where they observed shortcomings, you felt potential. Where they perceived silence, you were cultivating the strength to speak when it truly mattered. For a long time, that spark glowed unnoticed. People around you focused so much on what was lacking that they failed to see the slow, deliberate growth taking place. They wrote off your quiet confidence as timidity. If only they had looked closer, they might have sensed the determination surging through every cell in your body, an electric resolve that refused to be snuffed out. The truth is, greatness rarely announces itself with fanfare at the start. It's born in patience and grows in the dark, away from the eyes of those who wouldn't recognize its brilliance anyway. In the hush of solitary nights or the quiet corners of your mind, you nurtured that spark, fueling it with big dreams and unshakable conviction. And so the stage was set. The spark they ignored would soon transform into a roaring flame, one no amount of ridicule or disbelief could extinguish. You may not have known it then, but you were already accelerating along a path that would catch everyone else off guard. Then came the chaos, the wave of turmoil that nearly swept you off your feet. Perhaps you faced betrayal by someone close, someone you never imagined would doubt your path so openly, or maybe swirling accusations surfaced, painting you as someone reckless or in over your head. Some gossips whispered you might OD on the pressure, Others even made bizarre claims about your personal life. What began as casual mockery escalated into something more threatening. It was no longer just words. It felt like every force in the universe was conspiring to derail you right before you could step into your true power. Critics snickered, saying you'd crumble under the weight of your ambition. The friction built up, testing your resilience to the core. But in every trial, there's an opportunity. This turmoil forced you to confront your deepest fears. You questioned whether the world's harsh judgment might hold some truth. Were you on a fool's errand? Had you overestimated your own potential? Late into the night, those doubts weighed heavily on your mind. Yet something inside wouldn't let you surrender. Each new rumor or scandalous headline fanned the embers of your determination. With every accusation, you dug deeper, anchored yourself more firmly to your purpose, and refused to let external noise define who you were. The storm was brutal, but you learned that sometimes chaos is the catalyst needed to transform a hidden spark into a blazing inferno. One of the greatest transformations happens when disbelief morphs into driving force. You realize that all the negativity, all the venom people spewed your way, could serve as rocket fuel if you let it. Each disparaging remark became a challenge to rise above expectations and rewrite the narrative. Instead of giving in, you decided to train yourself, physically, mentally, and spiritually. You recognized that proving naysayers wrong wasn't about vengeance or feeding your ego. It was about unlocking the potential you always sensed within yourself. Doubt from others gave you a target, a reason to push harder than you ever had before. This inner shift brought new habits, new routines, and new ways of thinking. You stopped letting others' opinions set your limits. You realized the only real judge of your capacity was you. By rechanneling every ounce of negativity, you dismantled the mental barriers blocking your progress. Soon, the impossible started looking achievable. Ironically, the world that scorned you made your success all the more inevitable. Their lack of belief in your abilities became a constant reminder that you had room to grow, to outdo your former self. In the thick of adversity, you learned to appreciate the gift of doubt. It carved a straight path to the unshakable sense of purpose you carry today. After the storm, you began a steady climb toward the summit of your goals. Each step was earned through sweat and unwavering determination. You surprised everyone when you started hitting milestones people claimed you'd never reach. Critics wondered if you had found some secret weapon, maybe a hidden mentor or a stroke of luck. But it was no mystery. You had simply resolved to outwork and outlast the skepticism that once threatened to bury you. The controversies that sprang up about your methods, your personal life, or even your mental stability were now powerless. You showed up every day with clear intent, leaving no doubt that you were on a trajectory no rumor could halt. This chapter of your story became the proof that raw dedication and unbreakable faith in your vision can outshine any background noise. While the masses debated whether you were a fluke, you quietly stacked accomplishment after accomplishment. Each victory dismantled a layer of the false narrative others had built around you. Then came the moment that changed it all. Perhaps an interview that went viral, or a project that defied every prediction. Suddenly, the same doubters who once dismissed you as a nobody couldn't ignore your achievements. The chosen one they claimed didn't exist had emerged in a way none of them anticipated. With success came visibility, and with visibility came an onslaught of questions. How did you do it? Where did you find such resilience? Why did you never give up? The very people who discounted your dreams began to seek answers, hoping to replicate your transformation. But true power isn't learned through imitation. It's forged in the crucible of personal adversity. At this stage, you confronted the critics head-on. Rather than gloating or seeking revenge, you let your actions speak. You continued to grow, to innovate, to break barriers. In doing so, you left everyone scrambling for explanations. Those who once hurled accusations were forced to admit they had been wrong about you all along. Scandals that once painted you in a negative light now looked like stepping stones, necessary chapters in a story that ended up inspiring thousands, maybe even millions. People who said you'd never amount to anything began referencing you as an example of perseverance. It was a turnaround so dramatic it bordered on unbelievable. Yet the truth was simple. You had always possessed the qualities they claimed you lacked: ambition, courage, and the will to keep moving forward despite relentless opposition. Your confrontation with the critics wasn't a battle so much as it was a revelation. You can't deny the sun once it's risen above the horizon. Finally, the day arrived when you stepped fully into your power. No more second-guessing, no more hiding behind modesty or fear of judgment. Your transformation, once a faint idea in the back of your mind, stood on full display for all to see. The chosen one they thought they understood was never the real you. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. The skeptics had to acknowledge an undeniable truth. You were never that timid individual they claimed you were. Your capacity was limitless, and you had only just begun to explore its depths. Even your former critics had to recalibrate their opinions, stunned at the magnitude of your breakthrough. That moment was more than just personal triumph. It was a beacon for others. You showed that it's possible to break out of the mold others create for you. In revealing your true nature, you also invited everyone watching to examine the hidden potential they carry within themselves. Because if you could overcome the unthinkable, then anyone could. Your final unveiling was a masterclass in defying limitations. Every obstacle, every rumor, every betrayal had played its part in sculpting you. And now, in the full glow of your purpose, there could be no mistake. You had emerged stronger, brighter, and unstoppable. Their doubts, once a crushing weight, had become the scaffolding for your towering success. Now that you've shattered the illusions others built around you, the real story begins. A new chapter is unfolding, one where you define what comes next, unbound by the fears and judgments that used to dictate your path. You've proven them wrong, but more importantly, you've proven yourself right. So, what's next for someone who's just stepped into their own legend? Is it simply about basking in the victory, or will you push the boundaries even further? Only you can answer that. The world is wide open now, offering infinite possibilities for those who dare to look beyond convention. Take a moment to reflect on your journey. Remember the pain, the doubts, and the near collapses you went through. They're part of you, yes, but they don't define you. Instead, they shaped a resilient spirit capable of achieving what others deemed impossible. If you can rise this far, imagine how much further you can soar. They thought they knew everything about you, They assumed you'd fade into irrelevance, but in revealing your true capacity, you've awakened a limitless new future for yourself, and perhaps for those watching. Let this be your invitation to keep going, to keep challenging your old limits, and to keep inspiring the people who once said you couldn't. Because the best part? Your story is just getting started.